Some good, some bad to unpack from this past weekend. We'll start with Friday. 3 goals in 54 seconds. What happened?
Well, it's kind of what's been, you know, our Achilles heel. We're prone to the major mistake, and you can look at a game and and even the series before the Saturday night, we gave up a breakaway and a 2-on-1 on Saturday night. Should have won the game at home against Mankato. You all play them. All the metrics say you should win, but we can't avoid that major mistake. And then you get to Friday, and it's an early game, and teams are kind of feeling themselves out. And, shots are 5-5 or something, and boom, 2-on-1. Next shift, boom, breakaway. Call timeout. Hey, guys, there's plenty of time left, but we can't keep doing this. Next shift, goal. And it's until we get that out of our game, we just you just can't play like that. And you practice it. The area thought we did improve was we only took 1 penalty the first night, and I think we took 3 the second. So in terms of that, I thought we did a much better job. And then Saturday, I thought we managed the puck. And they go hand in hand. So usually the major mistake is 1 or 2 events, but it starts with you giving the puck away. And so turnovers were much better on Saturday. I thought the effort was better. We stuck with it longer. And then, you have some ability so you can score off the rush, which we did. And, you come out of there with the split, which all in all, you're probably okay with. But it's not giving yourself the chance on Friday. It's one thing to get beat. If you get beat on Friday, it's one thing. But when you don't give yourself a chance to win, I think that's the frustrating part. Not just for the coaches, but for the players as well.
And talking about the guys, I caught your pregame with Dave Dennis before Saturday's game, and you had made a point to mention that obviously for the standings that was a big game, but for the guys in the locker room emotionally that was a bit bigger. Did you get the kind of response from them that you were really looking for that Saturday game?
We did, and like it's hard to say it's a must-win game, in January, but it was a must-win game. Like I said, we have to win the game. For the points, yes, but for the other side of it is when you push and you push and you push and you push, you need some reward. And I kind of pushed on them on Saturday at home against Mankato, and I thought we played much better. I thought we actually played better at home that night that we lost than we did in the 5-2 win at Bemidji. So when guys do the things you ask them to do, they need to get rewarded. Not all the time, but on a consistent basis, you have to be rewarded. So I thought that was it's been a while since we won Saturday at Ferris, and then we were off. We lost on Saturday, so that was another full 2 weeks. And the weekend before was Tech, and we won Friday, lost Saturday. So now you got whole weeks where the last thing you remember is a loss. So now the last thing we have is a win. And does that change your psyche? Yeah, it does. I think you can coach them hard. I think you push on them harder. And it just, I think it's easier to come to the rink and easier to work following victory. So that was why I thought it was important also.
Coach, you made a point to mention that the Cats have had a lot of time off sprinkled within these last couple of series. There was the break for the semester and for the holidays. There was the week off last week as well. When you take the ice on Friday, this will be game number 7 over the course of the last 50-plus days. So having that much time off scattered through the middle of a season when the Cats are in the midst of a pretty intense standings race right now, does that volume of time off feel more like a hindrance in some ways, or has it been helpful in other ways? What do you make of it?
I think it's to be determined. I thought we kind of got our game back at Ferris before Christmas. I thought that was a very good game. I don't think we've gotten it back yet. and was a Saturday closer? It was. But the converse side of that is we've been able to work on some things within our own game that need to be worked on. So, there's kind of a give and take. You know, really the team at the end, it's going to the teams that are going to finish in home ice are going to be good in the next month and a half. Like we're all kind of right there. There might be one or two of them at the top, and that maybe have a little bit of leeway. That could maybe limp in, but you don't want to be limping in anyway. We'll find out, over the next, 12 games, 10 games where we're at and what that break did to us.
So then that all starts with another home and home against those guys from up in the Copper Country. So, Coach, seeing them again for the third and fourth time this season, split with them last time. Any thoughts on this big weekend ahead?
I think the biggest probably thing that I want to get across to the team is the way they start games. They're plus 14 in the first period. When they score first, they have a lot of success. When somebody else scores first, they don't. Even watching, so the stats tell you one thing, and stats are important to me because stats are facts. They're not my opinion. They're what the facts are. So then you get into your opinion, and watching them on video, the energy and the effort and the way they push in the first period is significantly higher than maybe what they're doing in the next two. But if you're up a goal or two at home, most of the time you're going to win the game. So that's going to be really important for us to be able to start the game well up there. Over the last 6 times we've gone up there, this is a crazy stat. We've won twice and we've lost 4 times. In the 4 times, and this is the last 6. The last 4 times we've lost, 5-minute major face mask, 5-minute major face mask, 5-minute major check from behind, 5-minute major cross check. So we've taken a 5-minute major in all those games. The games we won, 2 penalties, 2 penalties. So I think having your emotions in check is also important, and they've been better at that in this series. And, so that's going to be also really important, is playing on the line, not over it, and we've had a tendency to be over that line, and it's cost us.
Well, like you said, Coach, obviously going to be very important to keep emotions in check and play smart hockey, especially given the rivalry. Emotions tend to run a little hotter in games like this, but especially, this is the 3rd and 4th time we'll be seeing Tech this year, which happens, we're going around the league twice. But you talk to coaches in other sports, and they'll always tell you, you see a team the 2nd, the 3rd time, it gets harder and harder to play against teams the more you see them. How does that translate to games and series like this, where this team so well, you have so much history, and there's this rivalry there, and now you're seeing them for the 3rd or the 4th time, or God forbid in the conference tournament down the line, a 5th or a 6th time. How does that change the dynamics of matchups like this? Just the more often you see somebody.
Not much in our sport. I think coaches, we kind of are who we are. The players change, and there's some years you have better pieces in this spot than this spot. But kind of the way we play the game and what we believe can be successful is kind of predicated on the way the coach sees the game. They're a team that's very good off the rush. They're very good defensively. The goalie hasn't changed in 4 years. He's been very good for them. Their penalty kill, I think, is as good as anybody's in the conference. I think their penalty kill forecheck is the best in the country. They don't allow anybody to get in. So by definition, if you lose the face-off and you can't get in, it's hard to score. So I think that's going to be an important part of the special teams is can our power play gain entry, and not even try score, just gain entry and get set up in their end. And then can you stop their top line? Mosley, Pietila, and Kukkonen have 36% of their goals in one line, 3 players. So, I think all of those things are the same as they were the last time we played them. I think it's the team that does them better. Can we do us better, or do they do them better? And it kind of sounds elementary and probably not grammatically correct, but that's basically it. Who does what they do better than the other team.
I understand that point, and I know to go across sports in football, it's hard to beat a team twice, harder to beat a team 3 times. And when you put certain things on film, those are things that players and coaches go back and they exploit in your next meeting. Now in hockey, what do you look for from those past meetings, if anything, without getting into specifics and details? And what do you take away for when you see and you're going to see these opponents multiple more times down the road?
I think, the thing I do think about Michigan Tech and their coaching staff and Joey in particular is there's very few guys who adjust to the game as well as he does in game. There's times that we'll make an adjustment and it might go the whole game against somebody, and whether they see it or don't see it and choose not to do it is probably more of it. But with them, when you make an adjustment, they make an adjustment again, so you have to be ready to make that next adjustment. So you already have to, throughout the course of the week, okay, here's what we're going to do to be different here, but here's what I suspect they'll do, so here's what we probably have to do to get to that point. And a lot of that's not, necessarily, you don't share that always with your players, but, you kind of have to be aware of it. But to your reference, football. There's teams that I played in high school football. I know it's high school football, but they ran sweep left, sweep right, power left. And it was like, here's our 4 plays, stop them. And we couldn't do it. So, I think it just goes back to, what team executes their game plan better than the other team.
Fair enough.
Good.
You good?
I have one more question. Do you have more questions?
You're not allowed.
So, looking outside of the upcoming game against Tech, Northern's had 2 players nominated for the Hobie Baker Award, Andre and AJ. Can you talk a little bit about what that means for the program and talk a little bit about those 2 players specifically?
Yeah, no, it's a special award. Obviously, it goes to the caliber of the player, but also the character of the player. Andre and AJ have, over their time here, been very successful offensive players. And, I think, part of what they've done is they find a way in big moments to make plays. This year AJ's having a very good year again offensively. I think Andre's having a good year. I think there's more there. Through the course of every year, there's been a stretch within the league that he's been the best player in the league. And it's been every year he's been here, including his freshman year. He hasn't hit that yet. I think part of that is due to us playing him on his offside. We're going to move him back to the right side, so he's on a strong side, and he's probably more comfortable there. But I think it coincides with, as your best players go, your team goes. And, if those guys are going to be in this, final 10 when it gets to the end, it's going to be because they've had, a great second half, and we've had a great second half as a team. So no doubt they're very, very important to the success of our program.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned to Max that some of the losses that Northern's seen Michigan Tech have been due to emotion and taking penalties at bad times. And as we're talking about the Hobie Baker Award here, that word's all about character. Can you talk about the character of Northern and as a coaching staff, what you guys do to kind of keep players' emotions in check in huge situations like the games coming up?
Yeah, I think character's a broad stretching word. I think it falls into how you treat others. What you're doing when nobody's watching. What kind of academic student you are. There's a lot of things I think that falls into, and in part of it is leadership on the rink. And I do think in general, I think we've been very good at the way we carry ourselves. Our players don't dive, they don't yell at the ref, they don't taunt, they don't but in this series in particular, which you asked about, I do think our emotions get the best of us, and there's 2 players in a scrum, and you're both going to get away with one. You know, so one guy hits one guy and the other guy hits the other guy, and you're probably going to both get away with it. You know, it's that next one. You know, and I think we've been guilty of that. You know, and some of the majors have been, you know, sometimes a hit from behind, you know, can be something that gets called and doesn't. But I think 3 of the last 4, face masks and cross checks, those are getting called. So, you know, in particular in this series, we have to do a better job.